So don't worry about that. All right, everyone. Welcome to today's masterclass. Yay! Welcome to Dance of Attachment. Why smart women do dumb shit in relationships and how we're going to break the pattern. So I'm so glad you are here today. And I genuinely do not take it lightly that you are here and that you've committed to spending this next hour with us right now. This is going to be an interactive training. So we're going to have a conversation together. So keep that chat box open, participate along the way if you can. It is absolutely okay if you're busy, if you are driving like Shannon is, if you guys are at work right now and you're just like listening in on the side, like between your boss coming into your cubicle, do what you got to do. But if you're able to really be of this and be interactive, we're going to get so much more out of it. So before we dive in, I do want you to do something for yourself. You're here right now because you want to finally understand why you've been doing everything that it has been that you've been doing in your relationships. Give me a second. My thing is messed up. Oh no, I lost it. You guys, I lost my thing. Forgive me. You're going to watch me somatically process in real time. Where is it? Please hold. Do, 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 do. All right. You guys want to see behind the scenes? Let's see. Can I drag this here? There we go. Can you guys see that? All right. All right. Perfect. But listen, what I want to talk about today is going to be so important. So if you have a chance, close your tabs, put your phone on mute, hang that do not disturb sign on your door, because I know how rare it is these days to really give anything our undivided attention. But you showed up here for a reason. So I want to make sure you're actually able to focus and get what you came here for. So I want to know, go ahead and type in the chat. What did you come here for? When you heard about this masterclass, what did you see? What did you hear? Are you hoping to learn more about your attachment style? Are you hoping to learn more about why you do dumb shit? Are you hoping to learn more about what the hell does Jen keep talking about all the time in her Speak Honest group? Let me know. Just like toss it in the chat. I love knowing why you are each here, because that really helps me to make this masterclass work for you. Oh, that's awesome. Your counselor recommended it. That's fantastic, Jenny. I'm so glad you are here then. I'd love to know who your counselor is if you want to. You can even send it to me privately. Because I think that's great. Because what we do here is fundamentally going to change the way you look at your relationships. Yeah, to cure your attachment issues. I love that, Anna. I love that so much. Because this is what we're going to learn about today. We are going to be doing this. And I want to make a promise to you today, which is by the end of our time together, you will understand exactly why nothing has worked for you so far, what the real reason behind your relationship patterns actually are. And then most importantly, right, how to identify your specific attachment patterns and your nervous system wiring so you can finally choose the right approach that works for you. Does that sound good? You could just type yes in the chat if that sounds good. Because I want you to imagine being able to skip over all the guessing, all the trial and error, all the maybe this book will be different, maybe this therapist will finally get it, and instead know exactly what's actually driving your patterns so you can address the root cause. When I learned how to identify what was really happening inside of my nervous system and my attachment style, it literally changed everything for me. It's also changed my clients' lives, and I know it can change yours too. That's beautiful. Jenny says yes. Lynette says yes. I love this so much. All right. What if I told you, right, that the reason nothing has worked to stop you from spiraling, shutting down, saying things that you regret later, it's not because you're broken and it's not because you lack willpower, but because you've been treating symptoms instead of understanding exactly what is causing your patterns. So I want you to think about it like this. When you go and see a doctor with chest pain, they don't immediately prescribe heart surgery to you, do they? That would be very unethical. That would not work. They take you to run tests. They do an EKG, they do blood work, maybe they stress test. They assess what's actually happening before recommending treatment. The same principle applies to our relationship patterns. You can't choose the right solution until you know exactly what you're dealing with. Is it your attachment style? Is it your nervous system dysregulation? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's something else. Which specific pattern are showing up for you? And most people skip this crucial step. They jump from symptom to solution without understanding the underlying issue causing the patterns. And that's why nothing actually sticks. So today I'm going to show you why identifying your specific root cause must come before choosing solutions. So type yes in the chat if you've ever felt like you were just guessing at what to do next. Now, yes, 100% yes. I love that, Lynette. Absolutely, says Jenny. I love that. Here's the new possibility I do want you to consider. The reason you haven't been able to stop spiraling or shutting down or repeating the same patterns or, verbal diarrhea everywhere isn't because you're broken or there's no solution. It's because you've been choosing band-aid solutions without knowing the real reason you're emotionally dysregulated in relationships. So once you know your specific attachment patterns and your nervous system pattern, you can address it directly and that changes everything. So, this new possibility that finding your real reason comes before choosing solutions is what we're going to explore today. So, I want you to type real reason in the chat if this is a new way of thinking about your situation. I love seeing if this is new for anyone else. If anyone else is thinking, wow, yeah, I hadn't realized that this is just a band-aid and I need the real reason why what we are doing is going to actually work. Brand new. I love this. It's so powerful when you learn it. It's so powerful when it starts to actually stick. So let me ask you if you relate to any of these, all right? You can also drop in the chat if any of these are relating to you as they're coming up. So, are you tired of guessing which approach might actually work for you? Should you try another therapist? Should you read another book? Should you try meditation again? Should you try somatic work, EMDR? What kind of therapist should you get? Hypnotherapy. You're just shooting in the dark. You're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Or are you frustrated because you don't know what's really causing you to spiral, shut down, or overreact? You know that you do it, right? We all do that. You just don't know why your body takes over like that. And no matter how many times you try, you keep doing it again and again and again. Another one is, do you feel like you're wasting your time and money on solutions that don't actually address what's actually happening in your nervous system? So many of my clients have said, I've just tried so many things, Jen. I've spent so much money, but you're still doing the exact same things you were before. I see that all the time. If that resonates with you, let me know. Are you unsure of how to determine what's actually causing you to become someone you don't recognize in a relationship that matters the most to you? Like you can see the pattern, you can see what you're doing, you just don't understand what's driving it. And then lastly, do you feel like if you just knew what was actually wrong, you could finally fix it? Like, just tell me what's happening in my body so I can do something about it. So, can you relate to any of these? Type yes in the comments if you can relate to any of these. You can type out which numbers relate most with you. Maybe you're frustrated. Maybe you're tired of wasting money. Yeah, Jenny says 2, 4, and 5. Those are all of them. Yes, Lynette. I think all of them is actually very real. I've been trying to heal for years, but it's so hard to learn if it's hard to commit to learning. Yes, exactly. This is so real. And I love sharing this in the chat because I want each and every one of you to see that you're not alone in this, that I see this time and time and time again of these are the reasons why this happens. It was happening to myself as well. Beautiful. Shannon says all as well. If you're nodding your head, yes, in agreement to all of these points, I promise you, right? Like I am not like a stalker. It's not like I'm seeing you. It's just that I have felt all of these things. My clients have felt all of these things. And I promise you, whatever you're doing that's not working, it's not your fault. All right. It's just really hard to know who is right and who to trust. And if you feel anything like I did back then, I would have done just about anything to stop ruining relationships, except nothing seemed to ever work. Because here's the truth. No one ever taught you how to identify what's actually happening in your body in the moment. No one showed you how to figure out if it's your attachment style, if it's your nervous system, or if it's both. No one gave you a way to assess that you specifically need this thing. So, of course, you've been guessing. Of course, nothing is stuck. You didn't have the information you needed. That's like asking someone to go and write a report about something at work, but you haven't given them any information and then blaming them when they get it wrong. It's just not how it works. But what I'm about to share with you is the fastest way to get clarity and direction you need. All right? Finally, you can know exactly what you're dealing with instead of guessing. No more, is it me? Is it him? Am I just anxious? Is this a red flag? You can stop wasting time and money on solutions that aren't right for your specific nervous system and attachment style because you'll know actually what works for your body instead of having to hire, that fourth therapist who doesn't get you. Trust me, I've been there a lot with that. You have a clear, personalized roadmap based on your specific patterns. No generic advice, no one size fits all, no big program where you come in and you just have to figure it out on yourself. This is personalized work with your patterns. And you stop second guessing yourself because you'll have clarity. Wouldn't it feel so good to trust yourself? To understand what's happening and why, and to not have to worry if you're gaslighting yourself or if someone else is gaslighting you. You get to trust yourself. You get to know the real reasons behind your patterns, the attachment style, the nervous system wiring that's been running the show. And you can feel confident in your next steps because they'll be based on assessment, not guesswork. You'll know exactly what you need to do to move forward in your relationships to feel safe, seen, and secure. So tell me in the comments, do any of these resonate with you as well? I'd love to know what numbers resonate with you so I get an idea. What is it that you're here for, right? What is it that you want to stop doing? Do you want to stop second guessing yourself? Do you want to start trusting yourself? Yeah, Anna says, we're told to just let it go. Exactly. You're told to just let it go, but how? How do you expect to let it go when it's in your nervous system? It's in you. You can't just let that go. I love that. All of them but two. Yeah, stop. Well, yeah. Yeah, that's good. You don't need to. That's so good, Jenny. I love that realness. Number 4, stop second guessing yourself. Yeah. I think having that self-trust is really important a lot of times. And I think for so long, especially as women growing up, we've been taught to stop trusting ourselves. Stop trusting our bodies, stop trusting what we believe in, second guess all those things. So that when it comes time to relationships, we don't even know where we stand. So I love that. Well, before we go any further, I should tell you a little bit about myself. Now, I know some of you know me in here, but if you are new, hi, I am Jen Noble. I am a professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation and the founder of the Speak Honest Academy. I support smart, capable women who become emotionally dysregulated in relationships to finally trust themselves in the moments that matter most. So I've shared my work on the TED stage. I've written a book about attachment in relationships, and I've launched a podcast to help women heal their patterns. And I'm currently doing research work on somatic work. But what's most important for today's training is I've learned how to identify the real reasons behind relationship patterns, the specific attachment styles and nervous system wiring that most people completely miss. This is what allows me to help women finally understand what they're really dealing with instead of just guessing at solutions. Because before all of this, my gosh, I had no idea what was actually driving my patterns either. See, back in 2020, during the height of the pandemic, one of the lowest and darkest times of my life. And I was in bed for dinner, basically drinking White Claws and eating chocolate like it was everything that I needed in my life. Who needs, chicken or protein or broccoli when you have White Claw and chocolate? I, at this point in time, hadn't showered in about 4 weeks. And it was a really hard time for me. But I just couldn't figure out why. See, I had just been broken up with again. And everything inside of my body just felt like I was broken, like I was the problem. I remember trying to Google, how to win my ex back, thinking it was me, thinking if I could just be better, if I could just be prettier, smarter, more easygoing. I was reading all the books like Hold Me Tight, books like Attached, every relationship book I could possibly get my hands on. I was listening to podcasts, I was journaling, I was meditating, I was hiring coaches, I was joining courses, I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. And yet there I was, drowning in my umpteenth White Claw for the day and Googling what's wrong with me. I was completely heartbroken and convinced that something was fundamentally wrong with me. I remember thinking, why can't I just be normal in relationships? Why do I keep doing this? And I'd promised myself I'd do it differently next time. I wouldn't overreact. I wouldn't abandon myself. I wouldn't chase. And then, of course, something would happen. I would get triggered. And suddenly I'm right back there, right where I was again, spiraling, saying the things I didn't mean, becoming someone I didn't even recognize. Now, I want to know and feel free to share this if you want to. Does anyone else ever feel like that? Does anyone else ever feel just that fundamental brokenness? Just tell me in the comments if you're struggling with the same thing. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought I was doing all the right things, but I kept ending up in the same place. Because you're not alone in this. That's the most important part to remember. Is that yeah, at times, exactly. So often, says Anna. So often we do think that we are the problem. Going through it right now. Thank you for sharing that, Shannon. Big hugs for you. Yeah, we all know what that feels like. There I was, tears streaming down my face, greasy hair, hairy legs, feeling completely hopeless about relationships. And that night, as I'm Googling, I stumble onto something that will quite literally change my life forever. And that is the moment I discovered attachment theory. And for the first time, I understood what was actually happening. It wasn't that I was broken or weak or too much or too sensitive. It was that my attachment style had wired my nervous system to perceive emotional closeness as a threat. So when a relationship mattered the most to me, my body would go into survival mode and override everything I knew I should do. That moment, that discovery, it was like a fire was lit under my ass. I decided right then and there I was going to figure this out no matter what. I didn't care how long it took me or what I had to do. I decided I was done chasing men who didn't want me. I was done setting flimsy boundaries that left me falling apart inside. And I was done dating without intention. Done being ruled by patterns that I couldn't control. I made a decision that I was going to figure out how to feel safe and secure in relationships without losing myself in the process. And that decision led me on a journey to discover what I had been doing for all those years was completely wrong. And I'm so grateful I made that decision to invest in myself because if I hadn't, I'd probably still be annoying all of my friends with breakup stories and tears and wasting money on therapy that wasn't helping and reading books that got me nowhere. And even though I made that decision and I was on the right path, it wasn't like everything magically got better. I didn't wake up one day and suddenly, oh, I was secure and healed. I wish. I really do wish. And I wish I could do that for you, but I can't. It took years of trial and error to figure this out. I had to unlearn everything I thought was the right thing to do and then realize how wrong most of that actually was. I tried every formula I could get my hands on, my self-help books, the different podcasts, the endless therapy sessions, the different healing modalities. I invested in training after training, somatic therapy, compassionate inquiry, internal family systems, narrative therapy. I was testing everything, trying to figure out what actually worked and what was just noise. It was frustrating. It was exhausting. But above all else, it was lonely. I didn't have anyone during my healing journey who really understood what I was going through. And that was one of the hardest parts for me. There were moments where I just wanted someone to tell me, here's exactly what's happening inside of you. Here's exactly what your attachment pattern needs. And here's the specific approach that will work for you. Great. Have a fun time. But I couldn't find that. So I had to figure it out for myself. But I was committed and I knew I wasn't going back to my old ways. And eventually, through lots of testing and stumbling and investing in my own professional education and certifications, I pulled together the pieces from all the different modalities that I've trained in. And I created what is my dance method. DANCE. And I will talk more about that in a little bit. But what I discovered through all of this, all of the trial and error, was that this wasn't that I had weak willpower or that I wasn't strong enough or that I needed to communicate better. I discovered that none of those things were the real issue. What I actually had was an insecure attachment stance that had wired my nervous system to react to emotional closeness as danger. All right, is that kind of making sense? I want you to follow along here. When our nervous system gets activated, we react to emotional closeness as danger. And once I started to address that, the actual root cause, everything started shifting. I learned how to identify what was happening in my body in real time. I learned how to slow down my nervous system before I reacted. I learned how to stay regulated enough to actually say what I needed to say without shutting down or exploding. And that's when I realized there is a way to identify the real reason behind your relationship patterns so you can choose the right solution for your specific nervous system and attachment style. You don't need more generic advice. You don't need another book about communication. You don't need another course that thousands of people take, and you don't even feel like you are changing anything inside of you and you're just a number in a big, massive group. You need to understand what's happening in your body so you can address it directly. And I want to share how I did all of that with you so you can skip over all the years in trial and error too. So type yes in the comments if you want a clearer path forward instead of guessing. Let me get myself a drink. We're just about to dive into the three core concepts, and I do want to share a quick case study with you before we do. Yes, all day, Jenny. I love that. And Anna says, this is one of my biggest things. No one either understands, not expecting them to understand. But yeah, but sometimes it would be nice if they could understand, but rather wanting support. Yeah, it's so hard. And then you try to share things with people and you try to share with your friends and your family, and they're like, are you not over this yet? And you're like, no. Who's going to understand that though, right? And the problem is we want them to understand us so much, and then they can't, and then they don't hold space for us, and then it turns into where we feel even more lonely and we've ruined more relationships. And thus the cycle continues. So I want to share a quick study with you. It is important that you see examples of what real success can actually look like. So I want to talk to you about my client. When we first connected, she was exhausted. You could see it in her face. Like she had been running a marathon that she never signed up for. Sarah, I'll call her Sarah. She was a project manager at work. She was so smart, super capable, absolutely killing it at work, but in relationships, she became someone else entirely. She told me about another relationship that had just fallen apart and how this wasn't the first time that had happened. Every guy she dated seemed to pull away the second things got real. And instead of walking away, she would work harder. She would send him more text. She would check what the text is that she's writing, right? She tried to lean back. She tried to go forward. She'd go out of her way to do little things for him. She'd bend herself into every direction just to try to keep him happy and keep the connection alive. Does that sound familiar? She would lie awake at night, replaying texts in her head. Should she have said this? Should she have said this? Questioning if she said too much, wondering if she said too little, terrified she was going to scare him away. At one point, she laughed, but it was one of those laughs where you can tell, there's tears behind your laughter. And she said, Jen, I just feel like I'm always auditioning for the role of girlfriend, but I never get the part. Oof. That one got me because I knew what she meant. She had tried everything. She'd read the books. She'd listened to the podcast. She'd gone on what she called a man fast, which was just swearing off dating for months at a time, which I always love that word. No matter what she did, she ended up in the same pattern with just a different face. And by the time we talked, she had started to believe that maybe she was the problem. But here's the truth. Sarah wasn't broken, and she wasn't the problem, and she wasn't just bad at relationships. She was stuck in attachment patterns that had been wired into her nervous system since childhood. Her body was pulling her towards what was familiar, not what was healthy. And every time she felt close to someone, her nervous system would go into panic mode and she'd either shut down completely or become clingy in ways that made her cringe later. She didn't know what her attachment style was. She didn't know what was happening in her nervous system. She was just guessing at solutions and hoping something would stick. But once she went through the Speak Honest Academy and identified her specific attachment style and her nervous system patterns, everything shifted. She learned how to recognize when her body was getting activated and actually slow herself down before reacting. She stopped spiraling over texts. She stopped chasing men. She started trusting herself in a way she'd never done before. And eventually she opened up to a relationship where she felt safe, seen, and supported. But the most important part was she did not lose herself in that process. For the first time, she could trust herself when emotions came up. So I want you to imagine this. All right. Get yourself comfortable, but I want you to really feel this in your body when I say them. I want you to imagine trusting yourself in the moment when it matters most. So you and your partner, you have some big conversation, and now you trust yourself. You're not scared. You're not replaying the conversation in your head days for days and days, wondering where did you go wrong and how did you ruin it? You trust in you and you trust in your relationship. Does that feel good in your body? Yeah. Imagine feeling calm and steady in your relationship instead of constantly on edge. Your nervous system finally feels safe with connection. It's not worried about what's going to happen. You're not walking on eggshells anymore. Imagine being able to say what you need without shutting down or exploding. I tend to explode. Let me know in the chat. Do you tend to shut down or do you tend to explode? I tend to explode. I'm an exploder. Hi, that's me. I'm Jen. Nice to meet you. Oh, I love that. I think, yeah, I could do both, I think. I mean, that is also very fair. Sometimes I shut down and then if they keep pushing me, I'll explode. And that's kind of where it comes from. It's like, don't push me. Don't put me in a corner. I will attack. But imagine being able to say what you need to say without doing that. Oh, I love how you guys are all having both. That's so beautiful. Imagine being able to just confidently say it. And imagine enjoying the relationship while it's happening. Just being happy. Just loving him instead of waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's what becomes possible when you identify your specific root cause and address it directly. So type me in the chat if you would love to know the real reason behind the patterns so you can finally choose the right solution. Because we are about to dive into core concept number 1. This is good. We are right on time. I see we're right at around the half-hour mark. If you guys have any questions as I'm going along with these 3 core concepts, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll also have a Q&A at the end of this as well. So if you have any questions, you can always talk to me personally one-on-one, raise your virtual hand, and I will call on you to go first. And you can ask me anything that comes up because I'm going to give you a very bog standard version of all of this stuff, which means you should have questions. And if you do, that's a good thing. And I will be sure to answer as many as I can. Beautiful. Jenny says me. Shannon says me. Lynette says me. I love this. And Anna says I tend to shut down at first and wait until I can feel, yes, wait until I feel like we can have a conversation without distractions and that he is listening. Oh, I love that. Yeah, shut down, wait to have the conversation, and then potentially during the conversation exploding or having some sort of verbal diarrhea come out. You know, those absolutes that you never listen, those things. That's what I say. All right, let's dive into core concept number 1. Why nothing has worked. Bleh, right? Why has nothing worked? Let's start with what's really going on in your life right now. If you are like most smart, capable women I work with, women who are killing it professionally, women who are successful in so many other areas, you've got good friends, you've got a good life, you go get your nails done, you're having a good time, but you are dealing with some very specific things in your relationships. If you are spiraling over texts, replaying what he said, what you said, questioning if you said too much or not enough. If you're shutting down during conflict, even when you want to talk, but your body just freezes, or you pull away completely. If you're saying things you regret when emotions kick in, right? Like saying that, like, you never listen, you always do this, you're such an asshole. If you're overreacting or over explaining or becoming someone that you don't even recognize in the moment. If you are constantly on edge in your relationship, waiting for something to go wrong, unable to relax, and just enjoy being with him, all of these symptoms, they're not just annoying, they are completely disrupting your entire life. Because you are lying awake at night replaying conversations, unable to shut your brain off because you're convinced you messed something up. Or you're questioning your own judgment, wondering if you can even trust yourself in relationships anymore. And don't even get me started on how this is affecting your sense of self. You know you're capable, you know you're smart, and you're grounded in other areas of your life, but in relationships, you feel like you've become someone else entirely. Type yes in the chat if this sounds like your daily reality. Yeah, Jenny, it is disabling at times. It shuts you down from being your best self of what you could actually be doing. And I know you guys have tried everything. You've tried the therapy and the books and the podcasts and the meditations. You've tried harder with your communication. You've tried reading scripts. You've tried getting ChatGPT to help you say things to him better. You've used it to write text back so that way you sound chill and cool and calm and collected and secure. You've probably spent thousands of dollars and yet you're still here. You're still spiraling. You're still shutting down. You're still becoming someone you don't recognize when you're in a relationship that matters the most to you. And that's okay because I know what that feels like. All right. So here's the truth why nothing has worked. All those relationships, all of those approaches you've tried, they're treating the symptom, not the real reason. It's like taking pain medication for a broken bone. Therapy can give you insight into why you do these things, but it didn't give you the tools you could use in the actual moment when your nervous system is activated. And the communication books, they told you what to say, but they didn't teach you how to stay regulated enough to actually say it in the moment. Meditation is great, and I love doing it and actually teach part of it inside of the academy, and it helps you to feel calm when you're alone on your couch, but it won't address what's happening when emotional intimacy activates your nervous system. None of these approaches address what's actually happening in your body. Okay? So why is it that we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again? It's because your nervous system is created in a way all the way back in childhood that's going to keep you in this familiar pattern. That's all that's happening. And that's why none of this other stuff is working. What's happening here is that when you get into this system, your prefrontal cortex, it shuts down. Now, I know this gets a little bit science, a little bit heady, but just to give you a heads up, I'm very nerdy and sciencey and heady. So get to know this about me if you want to come and work with me. But what's happening in the moment is there is no physical way for you to say the thing you want to say when your body is stuck in a sympathetic nervous system. Okay, when you are in fight or flight, you do not all of a sudden get to remember the oh so beautiful secure script that Jen gave you during a coaching session. Because it's not going to come out. What's going to come out is what you feel deep inside of you. What's going to come out is part of your nervous system, part of your subconscious. So why has this keep happening? Because we have a conscious and a subconscious part of our body. And our conscious is responsible for only 5% of the things that we do. Our subconscious is responsible for 95%. All of it. Isn't that wild? So what's happening down here, down in this iceberg area, is what we have to work on. And so much of what modern therapy and all of this stuff teaches us is only up here. What I teach you is down here. All right? So now that you understand that your attachment style and your nervous system wiring is the real reason behind your relationship patterns, let me show you exactly how this is systematically destroying every area of your life. So most people think relationship patterns are just about relationships, but your attachment style and nervous system wiring is affecting all of these areas. It spreads. Because when you can't trust yourself in the moments that matter most, when you're constantly on edge, and when you're replaying conversations with your partner for days, well, that energy has to go somewhere. I think Jenny said it perfectly in the chat. I think that was you, Jenny. Yeah, it's disabling sometimes. That's exactly a beautiful way to look at it, because if this energy has to go somewhere, it's going to bleed into everything else. So let's start with your work life. Because of your attachment wiring and nervous system dysregulation, you might be experiencing emotional bandwidth being drained by relationship anxiety. So let's say maybe you're sitting in meetings, but your brain is replaying last night's text conversation. You're trying to focus on a project, but you're spiraling about where your relationship actually stands. Let me know in the chat if that sounds like you at all. Maybe you're trying to even apply for new jobs. Maybe you're trying to figure something out. Maybe you want to go and have that conversation with your boss, but you're so worried about abandonment and rejection because you keep experiencing it in your relationships. Yes, beautiful, Shannon. Thank you for that vulnerability. Yeah, confidence. Another thing as well is your confidence, it just gets eroded in professional settings, right? You're capable and competent at work, but the version of yourself that shows up in relationships, the one who spirals or overreacts or can't trust her own judgment, it's starting to make you question yourself everywhere else. Yeah, I love this too, Anna. Thank you. This bleeds into many aspects of life, including friendships. Exactly. And you know what? I want to touch on that as well, because your personal relationships, not just your romantic ones, but your friendships and your family too, they're getting affected by this. Your attachment wiring and nervous system, all of this is causing all of this, right? So You're here's a real thing. You are exhausting. We're just gonna keep it real with you, ladies. Are you ready? I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. You're exhausting your friends with the same breakup stories and relationship issues. You just are. All right. They love you. They're your besties. But you can feel them getting tired about hearing the same story over and over again. The way he talks to you, the breakup. Why did he break up? All of this stuff. This happened in my own breakup situation. And then that can make you feel even more isolated. All right. You're pulling away from people who actually care about you because you're embarrassed about how you're showing up. You don't want them to see you like this. You don't want them to know that your relationship is in shambles. So you withdraw. And that makes your loneliness worse. And when your loneliness gets worse, who are you going to turn to in that moment? Your partner. So you put more pressure on him. And thus the cycle continues. And you can't be fully present in other relationships. When you're with friends or family, your mind is somewhere else. It's with him. You're checking your phone. You're distracted. You're not really there because you're too busy managing relationship anxiety. The people closest to you are watching you struggle. And you might be pulling away because you don't want them to see you like this. But here's the thing, that isolation, it just makes it worse. As humans, we need connection and support. That's part of this. But your patterns are keeping you from being able to receive that. All right. So let me know in the chat. Just type yes in the chat if that resonates with you. If you've been feeling because of your relationships, you've been losing some of your other relationships as well. Let me see what the chat says. Jenny says it comes from relationships, family, friends, starting. Yeah, it all starts from childhood. That's the attachment pattern. This was what we were taught in childhood, well before we could even walk or talk. We're talking first 2 years of life stuff, teaching our body that attachment equals safety. And so we have to mold and fit ourselves into a world to stay safe so we can get fed, so we can get that diaper changed. This is what attachment is all about. It stems from that. So beautiful. Yes. Angela says yes. Jenny says sure. And Shannon says yes, indeed. Yeah. I feel this one deeply. I really feel like my breakup affected a lot of my friendship relationships for quite a while because I kind of shifted all of my anxious attachment from my relationship onto my friends. And then that was a lot for them as well. But also, I think the most important relationship, and I don't think this gets talked about enough, but is the relationship with yourself. All right. Like, yes, I am a relationship coach, but what that means is that I teach you how to have the most important relationship you'll ever have, which is the relationship with yourself. And this is probably one of the most painful parts that your attachment wiring and your nervous system, okay, it's doing all of this. It's how you see yourself. So you lose trust in your own judgment. You used to be confident in your decisions, but now you're constantly second guessing yourself. Did I overreact? Am I being too sensitive? Can I even trust my own instincts anymore? You're watching yourself become someone you don't even recognize. You've been listening to so much advice out there that you barely recognize who you are anymore, right? Like, you know that you are smart and capable and grounded. You've done some probably pretty amazing shit in your life. Like, I'm proud of you, whatever it is that you have had to deal with. But then all of a sudden, you spiral or you shut down. You do both, right? Like we talked about. And the disconnect between who you are everywhere else and who you become in your relationship is eating at you. And your self-worth, it's eroding. Every time you repeat the same pattern, every time you say something you regret, every time you spiral over a text, it chips away at how you see yourself. Your internal dialogue is the thing you hear the most. And you start to believe that maybe there is something wrong with you. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I'll just always be in a bad relationship. Maybe I'll always be lonely. Maybe I'll never be able to be happy. And this might be the hardest part. Knowing that your relationship patterns aren't just affecting your relationship, they're affecting your core sense of self. You are losing trust in yourself, and that is devastating. And I want us to hold space for that right now. So just type me in the chat if that hit you someplace in your body. Listen, if you know this work, you can even, maybe I'll challenge some of the girls here that I know are in the academy to say, where do you feel it in your body right now, ladies? When you hear that, this is what we do inside of the academy. We pause and we listen to our bodies so that we can see what is it about ourselves that we need right now. All right. So these are the beliefs. Oh, beautiful, Lynette. You feel it in your throat for sure if I lose. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. So Here's what's keeping you stuck, because I know you've been told to believe that you just need to communicate better. I mean, I love that stuff. I'm trained in like nonviolent communication and I do love it. And you read the books and you practice the scripts, but it's not working because the problem isn't with what you're saying. It's that your nervous system won't let you stay calm enough to say it. Oh, beautiful, Shannon. You feel it in your throat and your chest. I love that you could identify that. That's stunning. Also, something else that we've been told to believe is you need to work on yourself before you can be even in a healthy relationship. And that's just bullshit. Okay. So, yes, you can take breaks from dating if you want to. You can do all the inner work in the world. But the second you get back out there, the same patterns are going to show up if you haven't addressed your nervous system wiring. In fact, we have to go through what's considered a pendulation process of healing, which is a little bit alone and doing our inner work, and then a little bit in relationships. And one of the great things is that you can practice that inside of the academy because you can actually work through it with us, right? You can get triggered with us, with the ladies in the program, in a safe place to hold and support you in that moment. It's not just about working on yourself, healing yourself, and then doing it because healing is not a destination. It is a journey. You will always be healing, right? Always be. Isn't there like a thing that's like ABC, always be closing? I always think of it as ABH, always be healing. Like you will always be healing for the rest of your life. Just to warn you right now. And something else we get told. This one is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. If you just found the right person, it'd be different. What? So like you keep thinking that the partner you're with right now, well, maybe you deserve someone better, or maybe there's someone else out there. But I'll tell you right now, if you don't work on what's going on right now, you will just find that same person all over again. So you keep trying with different people, hoping this time it'll be different. But your attachment wiring, right? That thing that all the way back from our childhood, it doesn't change based on who you're with. It shows up no matter who you're dating. And you won't even be attracted to a man who is secure if inside of yourself you still don't believe that you deserve something good. So that's why we have to work from the inside out. And last one is you're just too anxious or too sensitive or too emotional for relationships. So you start to believe that maybe you're broken. Maybe you're not meant for healthy love. And maybe this is just who you are and this is what you have to deal with. But these beliefs, they're not only wrong, they're dangerous. And they are keeping you from addressing the real problem. It's kind of like a protective part of you that doesn't really want you to change because if you change, you could have an amazing life and it's really scary to think about. The truth is your attachment style and your nervous system wiring, it is fixable, all right? It's not a character flaw. We are not born with this. It is not a personality defect. It is just wiring. That's all it is. It is just learned. And if it can be learned, it can be unlearned. You just need the right approach, not a band-aid solution that you have been trying. All right. So here's what gives me hope for you. Your attachment style and your nervous system wiring responds incredibly well to the right approach. I've seen women go from spiraling over every text to trusting themselves in the moment, from shutting down during conflict to having calm, honest conversations, from constantly being on edge to actually feeling safe and steady in their relationships. And the key is understanding that your attachment wiring and nervous system dysregulation isn't a character flaw or something you have to live with forever. It's a pattern that can be changed. And here's what's crucial. Not everyone's attachment style and nervous system patterns look the same. In fact, it's kind of like a fingerprint. They're very unique for each person. And some women have anxious attachment with high nervous system reactivity. And some people have avoidant attachment. They have more shutdown responses. And some have disorganized attachment, so you can have both. And it depends on the system and who you're talking to and what are your specific trigger wounds that are happening that set you off. Right? And some women can regulate when they're alone, but they get activated in relationships, while others are the opposite. They get activated when they're alone, and then they can regulate in relationships. It's all different. There's no specific way to heal, and that's what's kind of hard out there. Your specific attachment style and your specific nervous system patterns determine what approach will work best for you. That's why identifying your root cause is the first step, because you can't choose the right solution until you know exactly what you're dealing with. So I want you to type hope in the chat if you're feeling hopeful that there's actually a solution for your specific situation. Beautiful. I love seeing that. I love seeing the hope. Hope is so beautiful. I think hope is one of the most powerful things we can really feel in our bodies. And if you want as well, if you want to just take a moment to feel your body and feel into it and see, where do you feel that hope? If I give you that hope, like if I give you that magic wand that says, we can do this, We can heal. We can get you back to a place where you trust yourself and you are living in alignment with your authentic self. Just feel it in yourself, feel it in your body, because I want you to understand all of this. As we go into core concept number 3, and you understand what your attachment style, or at least how important it is, we'll talk in a bit about finding out what your attachment style is if you're uncertain of it yet. Understanding your nervous system wiring and the real reason behind your spiraling or your shutdowns or your overreactions or all of the above. And that it's affecting every area of your life. But the question is, what do you do about it? All right. So let me share with you the discovery that changed everything for me and for my clients. Oh, and I'll never forget the moment I realized you can't change attachment patterns by trying harder or having more willpower, dating the right guy. Everything I'd been taught was backwards. Instead of trying to change my behavior or control my reactions, I needed to teach my nervous system a new way to experience connection. That's when I developed the dance method. So again, it's DANCE, a system specifically designed to address attachment style and nervous system wiring at the source, not just manage the symptoms. Because here's what I discovered. When you work directly with your nervous system and your attachment patterns, the symptoms like spiraling and shutting down and overreacting, they naturally start to shift over time. So there's no white knuckling, right? There's no, okay, but how do I get through this hard conversation? There's just a natural progression that happens that you don't have to force. It's kind of amazing. Like, I listen to women in the program, they'll just come in and be like, hey, so my partner said this thing and I didn't freak out this time. That's wild. Exactly. Yeah, I see Lynette shaking her head because I was thinking about you when I thought of that. Like, you address what's happening in your body and then the rest follows. That's the framework that I teach inside of the academy. It's not about pushing through something. It's about working it from the inside out. It's like a bottom up problem. And so often, all of these other techniques are a top down problem. That's not how we want to go. So here's the big picture of what needs to happen to address your attachment style and nervous system wiring. So this is where you can take notes right here to know what you need to do. Yeah, sorry, I really love this, Jenny. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Exactly. Exactly. That's what we need to do. So let's focus on this. So D. So, right, you can see here, DANCE, discover, alleviate, nurture, communicate, embody. First, we're going to discover your attachment stance. It's attachment stance, attachment style. It's the same word. It's just I tend to say stance for reasons. This is the phase where you focus on identifying your specific attachment patterns. In fact, you guys can let me know in the chat right now. If you are familiar with your attachment stance, let me know in the chat. What do you think it is? If you are looking at me right now, like, what the F is attachment stance, Jen? Great. You're going to be on phase 1. Some people come into the program past phase 1. They're very familiar with their attachment style. They know what they're doing. That's when we go straight into phase 2. But phase 1, first and foremost, before we can do anything else, we have to understand our attachment stance. And we go through that in the Dance of Attachment course inside of the Academy. We go through all 4 attachment patterns. All right. So this is where we bring awareness to our automatic patterns. Phase 2, we're going to alleviate your attachment wounds. This is where we address your root pain. The early attachment wounds that wired your nervous system to perceive connection as threat. All right, we're not just talking about them. We're healing them at the nervous system level. In fact, right now inside of the Academy, we are working through Module 6, which is all about alleviating our wounds. And I'm teaching the women the most important practice that we do inside of Speak Honest Academy, which is somatic affirmations. It's one of my favorite things to teach. It's one of the things that I harp on them all the time about. This is where we rewire our system from the inside out. 3, once we figure that out, once we figure out our wounds, you know, those wounds that say like, I'm not enough, I'm unlovable, I'm a burden, I'm annoying, I'm too much. Those are wounds. Those aren't real. Those are just your wounds acting up. Again, wounds we picked up in childhood that have been reinforced throughout relationships throughout our life because we've been attracting that. Once we learn how to clean those up, how to heal them, and it's a constant effort, right? I want to be very clear here. This takes years to work through, but I give you every single tool you need to do this for yourself forever. Phase 3, we're going to start learning about your needs. This is the part that a lot of people kind of forget about. Like, we want to be able to ask for what we need, but if we're coming into asking for what we need from a place of lack or from shame or because we're clingy, then yeah, we will probably to some extent push our partners away. What we need to learn is how to identify and meet our own needs 50% of the way without any shame, without any guilt, before being able to go to someone else. Not all the way, be very clear, half of the way. Phase 4, we are going to communicate with confidence. This is where we build the skills to set boundaries, set real boundaries, boundaries that have to do with you, not boundaries that are actually just covert expectations. This is where we express yourself without losing yourself in the connection. And you learn how to say what you need without shutting down or exploding. I teach my 3-step method in phase 4 of the dance method, which is to regulate, validate, and collaborate. It's one of my favorite things to teach. I do a workshop on it every once in a while as well. But this is where we learn how to do that, how to actually communicate so you're being heard. And then lastly, phase 5, embody secure attachment. This is the final phase. We practice new patterns until they become your new normal. This is where change becomes permanent, where trusting yourself in relationships becomes automatic instead of something that you actually have to think about. All right, so here's why this approach works when everything else has failed. Each phase builds on the previous one. So it's a system that is called scaffolding, right? So you can't skip phase 1 and go to phase 3, which is I think oftentimes what tends to happen. You know, we read books on how to set a boundary, but we don't realize that we actually have attachment wounds behind our boundaries, which is why we can't set them. Because if we say no, then what? Oh, then I'm perceived as bad. I'm perceived as sensitive. I'm perceived as not a good friend, not good enough. I'm perceived as not being, not being valuable to people. Oh, shit. So we can't even ask for our needs. Yeah. I love how Lynette says, yep, damn it. That's great. That's why we have to do this. First, we need to understand our specific attachment pattern, our attachment stance right here. That's what happens first. Most women are operating on autopilot. In fact, most humans are operating on autopilot, honestly. We're not even realizing when our attachment styles are driving the show. Then phase 2 can work. Once we know what our attachment style is, and I think I saw Angela say she was anxious, beautiful. Lynette, anxious, disorganized. Yep, perfect. Once you can see your patterns, you can trace them back to the wounds. This is where you and I work a little bit more one-on-one together for a little bit to get you to a place where you can see your specific attachment wounds at the nervous system level. The patterns start to loosen their grip. Phase 3 becomes possible because once you've started healing your wounds, you can actually identify what you need without all of that shame and guilt taking over. And then phase 4 is only effective once you know your needs and trust that they're valid. Otherwise, you're just learning scripts that you can't actually use because your nervous system won't let you. And then phase 5 is where it becomes permanent, where you practice the new patterns with support until your nervous system rewires and trusting yourself becomes automatic. And this is why random solutions don't work. They're trying to do phase 4, which are communication skills, without the foundation of phases 1, 2, and 3. They're trying to change behavior without addressing the nervous system wiring underneath. So this framework works because it's specifically designed to address your nervous system style and your nervous system wiring. All right. Here's what's crucial to understand. This doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't happen in isolation. Here's the missing piece that makes all of the difference. You need ongoing support and community while your nervous system rewires. This isn't a course you take once and you're done. This is a practice. It's a process, a journey. Because your nervous system has been wired for decades to respond to connection as threat. And you can't undo that with one weekend workshop or one therapy session. You need a clear framework. You need live coaching. And you need a community of women who get it. So you're not alone. And you need that accountability. So you actually show up and do the work and put in the work and figure out the journal prompts and the working in your minds and how are you going to do your somatic affirmations. All right. It's not just a course. This is why I created the Speak Honest Academy and the way that it is set up. It is a container for long-term change. So type yes if this is the kind of support you've been looking for. I want to know. Because we talked about a lot today. We talked about our 3 core concepts. We talked about my promise to you. And I just want to know that if you would like me to virtually hold your hand through this process of rewiring your attachment pattern and your nervous system pattern so you can finally trust yourself again, just type yes in the chat if you would like to hear a little bit more about the program. Because you have a choice, right? You can choose to keep doing the Band-Aid solution, or we can do this together. I can guide you step by step through the process of rewiring your attachment style and your nervous system patterns, making sure that you follow through even when you're triggered, even when it blows up in your face, even when you try it and you say, Jen, I said the thing you said to say, I tried it. And then this is how he responded. Great. That's when we figure out the next step. Because even when your attachment style is screaming at you to run away, you know that you have the safe space to be able to still work through it. Rewire my entire life. Yes. And we can. That's the cool part about this. It's not just relationships. Remember, it's the relationship to ourself. When the relationship to ourself shifts and changes, then we are able to do that. So I am hoping that you would like to choose option two. If you want, you can choose you can type two in the chat because I want to invite you to the Speak Honest Academy. Speak Honest Academy is the only relationship coaching program of its kind that addresses your attachment style and nervous system wiring at the source with ongoing coaching, community support, and a step-by-step framework so you can finally trust yourself in relationships without losing who you are in the process. Now, the Speak Honest Academy is where we go through this dance process, right? So again, we have discover your attachment stance, alleviate your wounds, nurture your needs, communicate with confidence, embody secure attachment. Now type yes in the chat if working through these 5 steps with ongoing support feels doable for you. Do you think you could come into the academy and do these 5 steps and work alongside with us and then be able to ask me anything you need, which is the best part? Because I want to know, is it doable? Do you feel like you can actually change this? Because that's the most important part here. Because I want to dive a little bit deeper to get a feel for what you might experience inside of the academy. So the dance method includes a number of modules and courses. And basically each module guides you through what you need to do. So you don't have to do research or think. Wouldn't it be nice to just be told exactly what to focus on so you don't have to guess, right? So the Dance of Attachment Foundation course. This is the core framework that walks you through the 5 phases. And then you get ongoing monthly course releases. So we get new courses and teachings that are released regularly inside of the academy to meet you at different stages of your healing journey. So whether you're dating or you're in a relationship or you're taking a break from relationships and you're just working through specific challenges, this is where we do it together. And I told you about the dance method, and I showed you how we're going to rewire your attachment system. But I do have some extra special success accelerators for you woven into the academy that help you see and feel results faster, easier, and with less stress. And you do not want to miss these, okay? These are the parts of the academy that will make rewiring your nervous system simpler, faster, and less overwhelming. So, success accelerator number 1 is my live coaching. All right, this is one of my favorite parts. This is where you get access to me twice a week. We meet every Tuesday and Thursday for live coaching calls. This is where we take what you're learning and apply it to your real life. This is where patterns get spotted in real time, questions get answered, relationships get formed with the other women, and nervous system regulation and communication skills get practiced in real time. All right, so you'll get access to live coaching with me twice a week, which is such a fun time to spend with each other. And then I know right now, you're like, okay, this sounds great, Jen, but maybe I'm feeling a little bit skeptical, and that's okay too, because I had a hard time trusting anything would work, especially after I tried therapy and books and podcasts and meditation, and I spent thousands and thousands of dollars and countless hours, and I was left disappointed, still spiraling and shutting down. But it's why I'm on a mission to help smart, capable women finally trust themselves in relationships. And for you, and for people like my client, Sarah, she came to me exhausted, convinced she was the problem. Remember, she'd lie awake replaying texts, terrified that he was going to go away because she scared him. And she said, I feel like I'm auditioning for the role of girlfriend, but I never get the part. And I asked her, can you commit to showing up for yourself for the next few months? And that's when everything started changing. Is it worth it to finally trust yourself in relationships? Type yes in the chat if it's worth it to you. Because here's what happened. Sarah learned how to recognize her nervous system was getting activated, and she learned how to slow herself down before she reacted now. She stopped spiraling over everything he said, and she stopped chasing. She started trusting herself, and she said, "For the first time, I actually trusted myself in a relationship, Jen. Love feels calm instead of overwhelming, and I'm not walking on eggshells anymore." I could not ask for more. If I could get you guys all off your eggshells, that would be my like dream in life. All right, so let's just review real quick because I have a special deal that I offer I'm giving you guys right now. If you're still on with me, so Jenny and Lorena, I see you guys here. I want to get you to the good part. You know you'll get access to the Dance of Attachment Foundation course. That we know. You know you're getting ongoing monthly course releases. You get access, you get free access to my workshops. In fact, I'm hosting one in March, so if you sign up today, you'll be able to access that. That's you always get a free ticket to my workshops, which is always fun. You get live coaching with me twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, so you can get real-time support when you're triggered. And again, in fact, if you sign up today, you can join us tonight, Thursday. We are starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. We meet every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if that sounds like something you want to jump right in, that would be perfect. But my Success Accelerator number 2 is exclusive access to the Speak Honest Academy private community. This is one of my favorite parts. You'll connect with other women who are doing this work alongside you. Now, I host this community because I remember how lonely I felt when I was trying to heal. I was isolated. I never felt supported. And I so desperately wanted to talk with other people who understood, just to get that validation where you're like, he said this. Could you believe it? And again, we're trying to do this with our friends, and our friends are like, oh my God, just get over it. Seriously, I know this already. And you're like, yeah, but in our community, you could tell us the same story like 3 days in a row. And we're like, yes, girl. Yes, we got this. Because we know what it's like to be there. If that resonates with you, I just want you to know that you have that support. So we can actually hear from a couple of the women. Maybe not, we'll see. But let me jump to, let's see, where we are right now. I want to get to, I just saw the time because sometimes I get so excited and I start talking all these times and I'm like, oh, wait, oh my gosh, we're at the hour. Here we go. All right. We've got the Dance of Attachment Foundation course. We've got everything. Here's what it totals up to. But when you join the Academy, it's only $97 a month. All right. So this is something that was really important to me, that I wanted to make sure that this Academy was a place that women could come to. So I worked it out in a way where it's only $97 a month to be a part of this. You get access to all of the courses, you get access to the live coaching, you get access to any of the additional stuff, you get the free ticket to the workshop, all for just $97 a month. And for right now, and I'm very excited, is if you sign up today, you can join the Speak Honest Academy for free, for on a free trial for the first month. So if this is something that you are interested in, you can grab the link and you can sign up there and you can join us free for this month. And we would love to have you. Now, I just want to thank everyone so much for coming to the workshop today. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. If you are watching this on the replay, you can go to speakhonestacademy.com and you're going to go and type in the code secure start, all one word. Type in the code secure start, and that is how you are going to get the free trial for the Speak Honest Academy this month. And I just want to say, I know that you're terrified your emotions are going to ruin your relationship. And I know how much you've tried and how much it hasn't worked. And I know that you're struggling to trust yourself right now in your relationship. But I promise you, it does get easier. And we can do this together. And you don't have to do this alone. So I want you to meet us over at the Speak Honest Academy. And I will see you there. Thank you all so much for coming to the workshop. I will speak with you all next time. Take care.